Hi everybody, this is day 1426, 7, oh geez, 6, since Richard was murdered there at Fort Bliss. On the Fort Bliss footprint, there is no doubt that Richard was murdered there at Fort Bliss, and that's July 2020. Let me make sure I'm on and that everyone can hear me, that I didn't make a mistake. I have some new equipment because I hope you can hear me there. And I'm sorry I'm coming in so late. It just can't be helped with everything going on. So I can see questions. Yeah. Okay, so y'all, so much information is coming out, and I want to make sure that I go on the record, that I share all this with you, because clearly when you take a step back and you decide that you're not going to look at the situation with blinders on, I guess that's the best way to put it, and you see Bob Moore of El Paso Times in the middle of all of this, right? He is a major connection between our son's case and the Walmart mass shooting. He just, when you put up the timeline, when you make charts like we do around this office, and you make timelines, and what you see is Bob Moore of El Paso Matters of El Paso Community Foundation. That's what you see. And so, because he used Leilani Hart, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. Both Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart are suspects in the murder of Richard. Leilani Hart had unauthorized access to Richard's files. The whistleblower complaint says the file was tampered with, and that Leilani Hart had access to the CID files through, quote unquote, her family boyfriend, Tavita Nusa, dirty agent, CID agent Tavita Nusa, and absolutely from our years, I don't know how much time went by. Really, so many months that I was communicating with Dirty Agent Marlon Soto. And obviously, he's a dirty agent, right? Obviously. There is no doubt. And so you have Bob Moore with confirmed convicted criminal, Leilani Hart, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, suspects in the murder of Richard, that leads to the CID, Tavita Nusa, and Marlon Soto. And, of course, Leilani Hart is associated with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia of the Walmart mass shooting case, connected to El Paso Community Foundation. And when we got to, thank you, Anicia, for coming on so late. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. And this is really important because when we got to El Paso to live there, for months, right? For months we were living there. Danae Katzen came immediately to us. She contacted us. And I don't think she contacted us on her own. I think she was sent. Because, you see, she's absolutely connected to Belen Rocha. She's absolutely connected to Lilani Hart. We have it all documented. She's absolutely connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, and that's as big as Dallas. That's 3905 Bliss Avenue. And now she's connected to Jonathan Ambrose from Bliss Avenue also. And there's more. There's more. Because, you know, like I said, you're looking at Bob Moore. Bob Moore is supposed to be a journalist. He's an unethical journalist, a very, very unethical journalist. And when, we kept on with even all the interference. There was so much interference, so many bad actors in this whole thing. And yet we kept on. But when did the major retaliation against us begin? We know that retaliation was against Richard, right? That there was the smear campaign and the collusion with the media to do the smear campaign, or to not even cover them, or just to do some little jabs. They know how to do it. They're very, it's asymmetric warfare, right? Asymmetric warfare using loads of people. They hire loads of people for the social media. And I want to warn everybody about that. I have a whole new sense of reality to what social media is. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you need to know who you're talking to, because it is such a mover and shaker and influencer of politics that there is so much money hiring influencers to get onto these social media platforms to do what they're hired to do. And in Richard's case, it was to misdirect us, give us misinformation. And Danae, don't forget, is a political creature. She was raised a political creature, because we have all kinds of screenshots from her Facebook before it was all taken down. But she was with, the Beto and the Black Lives Matter, along with Texas Heart, right? They were leaders. They were standing next, meeting these people, and they were political creatures. And so, there's just so many that are hired to get onto social media and to influence us, to whisper in our ears, to give us false information, so that we don't like people or whatever. And because of our wide experience in the world, living in Ireland and living in Europe for so long, and having relatives that live in South Korea and also in South Africa, very, very good friends, beautiful friends, and getting in Russia, and going and visiting and meeting with people and talking with people. And I remember being in Seoul, South Korea, and they have a beautiful cathedral there, and being told that the main Christian movement was in North Korea. It was always in North Korea. And so when the Korean War came, and North Korea and South Korea were separated, it was really a travesty for so many Christians because the main cathedrals, the main uh, church was in the north, okay, the Christian church. And then knowing from my own family, my own grandmother, that the main real solid Christianity in Germany was in East Germany, right? It was in the eastern part of Germany. It was, and then when the war came, World War II came, and that got cut off, it was a huge travesty for the rest of Germany because the real major deep Christian thinkers were in Eastern Germany. And I knew that from my Oma because anytime I said anything about Eastern Germany, she would say, don't say it because it's such a beautiful land. And it was really major Christian brothers and sisters there. And they're behind this Iron Curtain. And knowing that Stalin, he killed so many Christians, we were told, um, so I think what we're told and what is in the news needs to be scrutinized. And because of the way our life has gone, we have always done that. We've said, wait a minute, no, it's not like that. And so we were already, acknowledging, we were already understanding that what the media told us was many, many times misinformation. And that's why when all of this, Cobra Strike stuff came and this, you have to stand 6 feet apart and all this nonsense, and cover your mouth, keep yourself from breathing oxygen and don't go into the sunshine, and the most clean thing that you can do is go and be in the sunshine, right? It was such nonsense. And it's like, oh, don't eat egg yolks. Mahoma said, what are you talking about? They've never been through a war if they tell us don't eat butter and don't eat egg yolks, right? So we were already very conscious that, this misinformation was absolutely there. And so when Richard went missing and we had so many misinformation players around us and still around us, we could at least understand that they're there, right? That we should be very, very slow to judge what's going on because we were being fed so much misinformation. And we knew what was being told to us about Richard was misinformation because it was just so outlandish and, just so outlandish. It wasn't even possible, right? It wasn't even possible. So, so now what I'm about to tell you with El Paso Matters, Bob Moore is a major, major his credibility is gone, right? His credibility is like zero. I would say it's zero. I made that meme. I would say it's zero. Maybe there's a sliver left there, but for us, his credibility is absolutely zero because we have other people telling us that he's tampering with his stories, that his stories cannot be used in a court of law. So that tells you right there, his stories the credibility is zero. And then he has a group. He has a group on social media. He absolutely has been on that group. So we have tried to contact him no less than 15 times, right? We've counted them. And yet he won't respond to us, but he will respond to this group of convicted criminals, right? The suspects in a murder case, mentally ill. And I'm not joking, that confirmed, self-confirmed or self-proclaimed witches. He'll go over there and he'll engage with them, but with us he will not. So that tells you that his where his loyalties lie and who he is with. And then, oh, maybe he's a leader of this group, right? Maybe he leads them around. And that's what it looks like, because, it really looks like Amber Chase is someone he's partners with, or she works, uh, you know, um, they cooperate together, right? They collaborate together. Um, they collaborate together, and so she's kind of like an attack dog, right? And so when did this start, and why do we even feel like we can say this? Because she's going to hear about this, and you know how she is. She's going to, she won't be honest about it. But we have the evidence, because when did this start? Well, we know that Bob Moore went after Yvonne Rosales. He went after the election. He tampered with the election results of Yvonne Rosales. Um, they did not, his group did not like it that Yvonne Rosales won, because what she did is look into the Walmart mass shooting case. And the Walmart mass shooting case, all the monies were going to, from all the donations and state monies were going to El Paso Community Foundation. And they decided to go and investigate that, because they had claims that did not seem, that seemed fraudulent. And that was Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Her claims to get that money seemed fraudulent. And they are fraudulent, because I think it was 2001, maybe it was 2004, one of these numbers, she and Alexander Hoffman were divorced. Okay. And then she goes, oh no, well, I lived with him or whatever. But no, she was at 3905 Bliss Avenue, right? They didn't live together, right? They didn't live together. So doing this kind of research, and then finding out that she and Thomas targeted our son's case. So what is this person doing that is fraudulently trying to cash in on the death of her husband, who is not her husband, right? Was once upon a time her husband, but now is divorced. But she's trying to cash in, and Yvonne Rosales, the district attorney, is looking into this. And 2 days later, they petition to remove Yvonne Rosales. And who is this Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia with Elise Hoffman Taus, her daughter, and Thomas Hoffman and Alexander Hoffman? Okay, so who is this family that's targeting our son's case? I mean, when you find out that they're targeting, that they want to interfere in the search, the investigation of a missing soldier, but really he's a murdered soldier. And now we know, since April 24th, 2024, it was officially publicized, something we knew all along, that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. That Richard was deceased. Okay, so if the government is going to say Richard is deceased from July 2020 on Fort Bliss, or, that whole footprint, right? The footprint of Fort Bliss, then that means he was murdered, because there's no way that they can have a murdered soldier, a missing murdered soldier, and not have all of the CCTV footage and the witnesses and everything for it. There's no way, because, or the security involved in hiding the are the breaches that bad, right? Are the breaches that bad? No, they never said that. and you had Thomas Kane saying no, he was a good meal for the coyotes. See, that's what the director of emergency services said, and then he wrote Major General Eisenhower a letter. And when did that all happen? That happened in the end of 2022, and Yvonne Rosales was removed, and Bill Hicks was appointed on the 14th of July. Now, he botched his appointment, didn't he? He botched his appointment so bad that now he's a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. He botched it, and not only did he botch it, but he also committed a crime by trying to fix it by tampering with the timestamp with the Secretary of State. So he's really committed a crime there by tampering with a government document. And so when did that happen? That happened in January of 2023. Well, you can go to my live streams and you can see when did they start outright retaliating, sending us vile and vulgar messages, starting all of they were doing it before, but they were like outright just felt like they didn't have to hold any punches back. They could do whatever and start attacking us. And that was in January of 2023. So the timeline corresponds with Bob Moore and Bill Hicks. And so these people are then connected with Justin Underwood, with Omar Carmona, with, Leilani Hart and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and the Ortegas, which is Belin's mother's side of the family is Ortegas. Okay. And so when I talked to Lydia on the phone, when we got there, right? And I don't know, sometime when we finally learned about Belin and everything, and I thought, okay, I'll call the family and see what their side of the story is. And, Lydia was like, I don't know anything about a missing soldier. I don't know anything about him. That is not true. Okay. That is not true at all, because she is directly connected with all of this. Okay. And also Amber Chase is directly related to all of this, because don't forget that Bill Hicks, one of the reasons why I believe that he couldn't sign that statement of officer and that he botched his whole appointment coming in to where he's now a usurper. He needs to be pulled out. He needs to be arrested for what he did, is because he was representing Purchase Funeral Homes. And Purchase Funeral Homes, what do you do when you're a mortuary affairs, person? Do you go and start working for the funeral homes? So, there is a connection between Amber Chase and Bill Hicks and Bob Moore. And we know that because they're in that group. And, they have commonalities, right? And we know that Amber Chase was mortuary affairs. And we also know that she has another direct connection to Bill Hicks' office. Okay. So she has a connection to Bill Hicks. She has multiple connections to Bill Hicks's office. Okay. And so now she has a reason to be Bob Moore's attack dog, because they have skin in the game here, right? Because Purchase Funeral Homes, they're the ones that handled the victims' bodies, and I just wonder if they handled Richard's body, because we're told that Mario Raskin Ortiz handled Richard's body. Okay. his office did. And, we got feedback from that group, Bob Moore's group. Bob Moore's unethical group, criminal group, right? They're unethical and they're criminal. They're stealing our names. They're imposters. Um, and, they're using our names in order to intercede and interfere so that they can intercept messages coming in to our family's name and our cause and our son, right? And that's why they've wanted to usurp our names and use our names so that they can control the case. They can get, heads up in this case. And of course, they've had unauthorized access or, criminal access to Richard's files, to Rob's files, so they absolutely have done this deep dive into our whole life. And that's why they had all the information when they were vile and vulgar, sending us messages. They had information that not even my mother knows about Richard's adoption, because we never talked about it. If she wanted to know it, it would be fine, but we never talked about it. Just different names and different things that were in his adoption file. So they were skimming through the adoption file. They were not even skimming through it, they were studying it. They had information about Rob's career, that they only could find and only could know if they had been studying it, combing through it, gently studying it. And you know what they found? They found a beautiful man. That's what they found. An absolutely beautiful man. A stellar soldier. And, I just don't even, I can't tell you how important that is, because you don't need to have a stellar history in order to be a concerned parent looking for your son, right? Wanting justice for your murdered son. You don't have to have a stellar history, right? But Rob does. And it's a good thing that he does, because the reason why they were combing through his history and my life, right? And thank God that I married a man such as Rob, that he made me a wonderful person, right? That he, I can't even tell you, he's just such a great person. And we could never do this without his leadership in all of this, his support, his leadership. And leadership is like, people are like, well, where's Rob? He is 100% here leading the way. And but with the political atmosphere, the way they were really targeting Rob for anything, and anything he wanted to, he would say or whatever would be targeted. And of course, if he had anything in his history, they would have exploited it. They would, and they tried to exploit anything, because I can tell you. And then they tried to fabricate some things, and they've done things behind the scenes that people just would be, it would be hard for people to believe that people are so cruel and so vicious and so vindictive and so evil that they would do these things. And so what I'm saying is, it's really, we wouldn't have been able to get this far, because there's so many keyboard demon warriors that are paid. They're paid to influence. And they want to influence badly in this case. They wanted to smear Richard. They would have loved to smear Rob. They would have loved to smear me. They would have, they tried to do that. And they would love to smear our family. And, praise God, our family is a beautiful family. And, I didn't even realize how beautiful we were until all of this happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have such a beautiful family. I always knew, always grateful. But I'm talking about the depth of that knowledge, um, to get through this, just to ask a simple question. What happened to Richard? Where is Richard? We want justice for Richard. And, just to do that, it, it's it's so difficult. It's so difficult. So, when you hear families being belittled and everything, and I know that they did that with Asia Grant. They did that with um, Oakley Jr., Glendon Oakley Jr. They've done that to so many where they've just attacked. They did that to Vanessa Guillen, right? They did that to Vanessa Guillen until her body was found, right? And that's why they don't want to give us our son's body, because they absolutely have Richard's body. Partial remains anyway. And we have lots of information that we can say that confidently, that they have Richard's, at least as partial remains. And, with someone like Amber Chase being involved in this, and with the medical examiner being illegal and not trustworthy, you see, just that. You get these autopsies and people are like, oh, just call them. Really? Just call them when they're illegal, when they're not trustworthy, when their credibility is zero because they're not even qualified for the position, and they have criminal connections? They have criminal connections. Because think about this. You have Bill Hicks in the DA's office, and, he's a usurper, right? And his office manager is a criminal. Luis Rene Diaz is a criminal. Absolutely criminal. And so, but they're connected. They're connected. How are they connected? They're connected because they're criminals. And, you have Hicks with Ortega, partnering with Ortega, Randy Ortega, Randolph. Let's say Randolph Ortega, right? And absolutely connected to Boleyn, absolutely connected to Danae, absolutely connected to Bob Moore, absolutely connected to James Hart and Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart. And they have years of connection. And that's why they can be so brazen, because for years they've been up to no good. And it's all in plain sight. But we don't know that it's in plain sight. We have to do the research, we have to do the investigation, and with those being connected, the Hicks being connected with the Ortegas, being connected with the Bob Moore, being connected with the Harts, being connected with Purchase Funeral Homes, being connected with Amber Chase, being connected, and it's all there in plain sight. In plain sight. And it's all documented, because when you're working the system, because they want to work the system still records what they do. And once you hit a few addresses that they all tend to like to use, then it connects all the rest. And so we have more than enough now. And I think that Danae, I've been thinking a lot about Danae, and about all of the smears and this and that, and wanting to gaslight, right? Wanting to gaslight. Oh, she's so rotten. Oh, she's so rotten. Oh, she's so rotten. Oh, she's such a fraud. Oh, and yes, yes, she is. She is a fraud. Yes, she is connected to Leilani Hart. Yes, she is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Yes, she's connected to Bliss Avenue. Yes, she is. But you know what? They are criminals. They are so criminals too. Look at Leilani Hart. Look at her affidavit. Look at what is going on there. Is she arrested? Are they all? They can. Nobody can even say Leilani Hart's name. They go, oh. They don't even want to say her name. But with Danae, they're putting it out there, right? They're putting it out there. Oh, she's so bad. She's a thief. She's this. Um, you know, and I've been really thinking about this, and uh, you know, I'm just I'm just very leery. I think she was trying to come forward. I know she has some health problems. I know she absolutely. What I think she was put up to coming out to us begin with. I know she's connected to David Candelaria from KTSM. Um, we know it. We know. I shouldn't say I know it. We know it. So many people know it. Um, and and so many people know the truth. And yet they're very afraid because of this group that is so vile and vulgar with their, uh, you know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. They're just so, their language is so, it's terrible. And then they do come after you. I think they are very violent. In that group, I think, are the suspects of Richard's murder. Um, and so I think they could do a lot of damage. Um, but, to let these bullies, to let these very evil influencers um, just get away with what they're doing is insanity, because it's suicidal. It's a destruction of our community. It's a destruction of our peace. It's a destruction of our military. It's the destruction of our criminal justice system, because Bill Hicks is in the group, y'all, and he's a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. What does that mean? That we don't have a district attorney there in El Paso that is prosecuting, that is identifying crimes and documenting crimes and prosecuting crimes. That's what that means. That means that we have a real breach. We have a real problem, a broken criminal justice system. That's what that means. And we have um, a fake, an, a criminal for a chief medical examiner. This is a judge that judges the cause and manner of death. That means our criminal justice system is broken, double broken, double broken. So to let this go on is just insanity. And then we have, and I don't know if I'm supposed to bring this up, but I'm going to bring this up. We have the village of Vinton that we keep a very close eye on because of our whistleblower. And, there is a big problem there. They are usurped also. They are usurped by their city attorney. And there is a grip on them that is squeezing the life out of them. And of course, there is fraud there and, nepotism there. And clearly, okay, they have nepotism. Is it right? It's not right. Is there fraud? Okay. No, but you know what? Our son was brutally murdered on Fort Bliss. Brutally murdered. And, they're worried about getting in trouble for some fraud after they've been committing fraud. They've been profiting off of the fraud. And they're worried about that when a young man, barely 21 years old, is trying to do the right thing and is brutally murdered, and they're trying to uh, retaliate against the witness. That is insanity. That is, like you're in a car called suicide speed. It is, it's a destruction of your town, of your village, of your community. I, okay, you had your nepotism fund. Okay, you had your fraud fund. We're talking about not just Richard. We're talking about Glendon Oakley Jr. too, and Asia Graham. So many. So many. But Richard was brutally murdered. And it's like no one's supposed to do anything. No letters are supposed to go in to complain. No open records. Oh my gosh, we have to respond to an open record. Oh, I'm working so hard for my fraud. What is going on? Look at Veronica Escobar. What does she do? She's totally a fraud. Totally a fraud. She's a criminal, y'all. She's a total criminal. She, so she's part of this group with the Mario Rascon and the Bernals and the Bob Moores and the Bill Hicks and and that's why your taxes are so high, because the fraud has been allowed to continue and to continue and to continue, and fraud is so expensive. Crime is so expensive. And they make you pay for it. And that's, people always go, why do you like God's law so much? Because if you look at my Facebook, you can see, I love God's law. And I'm like, because it doesn't make the innocent people pay for the crime of others that others do. We're paying for these criminals. And of course, our family has really paid dearly. And Richard paid with his life. And all of those that participated in the brutal murder and cover up of Richard, they're not free. They're not happy in their monies. They're miserable. I can't tell you how many people in that group that I've spoke to that have told me that they're miserable. They're on medication for all kinds of mental illnesses. This is so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy to be criminal, and it's so unhealthy to have to pay for these criminals. And they're all connected. And thank you to Martin Paredes. You need to share some love with him. He won't let's say, because we have our list of heroes. And, when all of this comes together, and some of it's coming together now, and we want to share our gratitude. Some people uh, are so ethical. They're so ethical, right? They don't want a conflict of interest. They want the truth to get out there. And we're just so grateful for them. And I think Martin Paredes is one of them. And so, share his stories. There's 2 stories out there now about Bob Moore, about his unethical actions. And, share that story. If you have any advertising to do that with him. Because that was, uh, you know, that was huge. And it's just the first. And the last couple days were so full because of the retaliation. And we have so much to share, and it's all going to come out. We have been documenting, and submitting, because that keeps us safe. It's all out there. And the latest with all the connections, it's all out there. And so we just want to say thank you to everybody. And going back to Danae, that was really what I wanted to talk about, is trying to bring this all together, how we don't believe the going narrative, that we really, okay, is there some truth to it? Yeah, that's how they get you. They put some truth to it. But they twist it so much that really the influence is quite the opposite of what the truth is. And so I really think that Danae wanted to come forward. I really do think that she didn't want to do this any longer, meaning participate with the group and the cover-up. It's Vanity Fair. If you've never read Pilgrim's Progress, Vanity Fair, you have to go through it, right? You cannot go around Vanity Fair. You have to go through Vanity Fair, and you have to survive Vanity Fair because it's deadly. And I think that she had to go through Vanity Fair in a very, very hard way. And I'm not, making her out to be a victim or anything like that. We are the victims of her, of what she did. But, she knows, because she has communicated with me multiple times, that we are a tolerant and merciful family, and patient. And we have asked those that know things to come forward. We don't want these people that were led and groomed and bullied and, given no options, or very little options, or made just bad decisions, right? To get caught up in this capital murder case. And from the beginning, we understand that the bad leadership on top, right? The ones that really need to be held accountable, will have the likes of Danae be their scapegoat. That's what they do. They'll really skew justice. We understand that too. And so, when all of this was going on, and clearly we saw the bad intentions of McConville, the very General McConville, General Mealy, General Garrett, General May, what is she, Lieutenant General now, Donna Martin, who needs to be stripped. I mean, they all need to be stripped from from our beautiful uniforms and our stars, right? These are ours. And they were entrusted with them, and they have betrayed us. Absolutely. So when we saw that, we told Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe that we wanted immunity for the worst offender, because we knew that Major General Coward needed to be outed. That he's a big player in this too. He's a big suspect in this, with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick, another big suspect in this. And there's other generals, and it's very clear that they would want to find a scapegoat, or that they couldn't because of the connection with the Walmart case. That's, I think that's why they just put up so much money to keep this from exploding right at the beginning, and coming out to the public. So, because all of the media and all of that, I don't know what all the deals were behind the scenes. Let me tell you, they had to have some deals behind the scenes, boy, and conversations behind the scenes. And I wish I knew where to put all these open records, because I would love to read them. Because let me tell you, the open records have been just a treasure trove of information that connects the dots. And if you've never done an open records request, you need to learn, because wow, that has been, that's how we keep oversight. Yes, the people need to keep oversight. And anyway, back to the immunity. So we told him we wanted immunity. And he came back and he said, well, we can't give you immunity. You can suggest immunity. You can suggest immunity for people, for those who've participated in this. And there's no blanket immunity. He told us that, and I told, in the live stream, that there's no blanket immunity. And, now we have information that some immunity deals were made, and plea deals were made, and all of that. I can't even imagine everything that was done behind our back, right? So, and then as time went on, and we just saw the level of evil here, the connection with the child trafficking, major crimes that were way beyond the murder of Richard. Okay. Who are we? We can suggest for the murder of Richard that there's leniency, right? We can suggest that for somebody. Do I want that at this point? It is hard, y'all. Because right now, at this point, after everything, I don't think, I just can't say. I'm not going to say, because it's too emotional. It's absolutely too emotional. Yeah. You got like two little beings here, and they're opposite, right? Wow. And I don't know if what is evil, what is good. It's just, that's how emotional, what emotional roller coaster it is to ask how we feel about immunity right now. Um, but we can ask for leniency, and I think it just all depends on who comes forward. But there has to be an accountability because the crimes are so big and they're beyond us, right? They're beyond our family. It is, the weapons smuggling, uh, the arms trafficking, the child sex trafficking, the child pornography, which is child torture, y'all. Okay, all of that is child torture, and all pornography is child sex trafficking. It's all grooming. And so, when you see the narcotics and all of what they were doing, um, those crimes, it's not really our decision. And that's why we just said, okay, these crimes are so big that we absolutely hope that the death penalty is on the table. And we do. And we do. But I wanted to make it clear that if people come forward and I don't know, I don't know, I can tell you that the way I feel about Danae, if she came forward, if she started speaking right now, and we were talking to her family, and I think they're afraid that she is ready to speak out. Okay, so I don't know. I'd have to hear the whole thing because she's in the middle of it all, y'all. She's the connection between Richard's case and the Walmart case. She's a big deal. She's the one, 3905 Bliss Avenue, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. She's the one that came to us to take us to KTSM, to feed us misinformation, to, cooperate with the CID office, to cooperate with Lilani Hart, to collaborate, I should say collaborate. It's late, right? It's almost 1 o'clock. Collaborate with Lilani Hart, to collaborate with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her family, and the Ortegas, and I mean, come on, and attorneys, and the attorneys, and LDS attorney. So we know that, and I'm right now, I'm afraid for her life. Um, I just don't. I just hope that they, even with criminals, even with like the likes of Patrick Crucius, you want them to have integrity, to keep the system together. The laws are there to follow so that we will have a country of integrity, that we will have a humane society. That's what we want. And that Patrick Crucius and Danae Katzen and even Lilani Hart are treated humanely, but that they also have to pay for the crimes that they made, that they did. And, when you hear the story, you can, you know, but I'm just saying, we're not bloodthirsty. We're not like them. We're not like them. It's heart-wrenching to think about what they did to Richard. And And you would think that it would make you really revengeful and stuff. I haven't felt that. I want justice. I don't want the ugliness of revenge. I want the beauty of the justice system. And it's really heartbreaking to see the usurpation of our justice system so that they can break it. The El Paso criminal justice system right now in El Paso is broken. It's non-functioning. It's non-functioning, and it's costing El Pasoans millions of dollars for a broke system. I think you want your money back. Okay, everyone. Thank you. It's a little bit emotional because of well, being late, being so late, but also we wrote so many letters today. Again, so many letters. I can't even tell you how many letters this takes and the effort that goes into this. And it's yeah, it makes you sad. It makes you very sad. So thank you so much. And it's good news because Bob Moore has lost his credibility. It's good news because we know the connections with Bill Hicks. It's good news because all this retaliation has really no thrust, no power anymore because we know who's who. And so when they come after us, it's like, you're in that matrix and the bullets are just like, whatever, and you're just flicking them, right? You're flicking the, get away, Amber. Get away, Bob Moore. I mean, you're just nothing. You're just like a little, you know exactly that they're protecting their criminality, and you know who they are, um, and it's a very strange place to be emotionally, and yeah, because it feels so good to know, but at the same time, um, the waiting, the paperwork, the paperwork, the paperwork, the paperwork. Oh man. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. We will continue. I put up some Shakespeare, and I'll explain to you why I did that. You know, Hannah and Allison, um, if you can learn Shakespeare and you can learn how to read that English, it really, um, it's very, very powerful stuff because being Anglican, of course, we want to hear what the master of the human nature, besides God, but a Shakespeare who is like, I think his name is Christopher Marlowe. I think it was really Christopher Marlowe. There's this debate on who Shakespeare was, but anyway, um, Shakespeare just when you go through his works, he is just a master at the human nature, at humanity's nature. And when you learn how to read it, the lessons are just so invaluable. And, you have like another language, right? Um, and of course, uh, I was reminded about that with the kids and stuff. Um, that Shakespeare says it best, right? Shakespeare says it best. So let's see what Shakespeare says about these people, that their heart is just not strong enough to come forward, to do the right thing, and that's why I put that up there. And then of course I wanted, what does victory feel like, right? What does victory feel like? What does Shakespeare say about what victory feels like? And and how inspirational is it, right? You have a band of brothers, right? The Crispian's Day, St. Crispian's Day comes up, and uh, just some great, really, I read through so many of them, even, Romeo and Juliet, and it's, it really is inspiring. And that's why I put it up to, one, to know where your weaknesses are, right? And to not fall for those weaknesses, to not let those weaknesses overcome you, and two, to be inspired to go forward. And so that's why I put them up. Um, and I hope that you enjoy them. So thank you so much, everyone. We are absolutely um, doing amazing things, absolutely amazing things, moving forward for justice sake. And like I said, too, I just barely mentioned it the other night, or maybe it was last night, that uh, we're connected to Trump's group. And because that seems like the new administration that's coming in, it's, you know, whatever you want to say, it seems like they're the ones that are uh, bringing in the new administration. And so maybe we can get somewhere with that. And we're also in communication, connection with Mexico's new administration. And, that is, I think I'll be talking about that tomorrow because that is really uh, amazing stuff, what's going on in Mexico right now. So, okay, everyone, thank you so much. Pray for Danae. Pray that she comes forward, that she doesn't let all of these people, she's surrounded right now, absolutely surrounded with people that do not want her to speak. And that's what makes me afraid for her life. Because she's surrounded. And she knows. She's connected to all of it. So pray for her. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.